Welcome to part 3 of me breaking down the Pui 2 reveal, this time focusing on crafting in Path of Exile 2. And in some ways, crafting is a topic that we know the least about. So I'm going to try to piece together everything so it's kind of spread all over the reveal. I'm sorry, this might be a mess, and if I end up missing anything, keep an eye out for a future update video. So, how do you craft items in Path of Exile 2? Well, items have 4 rarities. Normal, which generally have no affixes, magic that have up to 2, rare that have up to 6, and unique that are special and kind of an exception and don't really apply for the purposes of this video because you can't really craft them. Your affixes are always split between prefixes and suffixes. So a magic item, 2 affixes, 1 prefix, 1 suffix. A rare, 6 affixes, 3 prefixes, 3 suffixes. In some games, you craft by just creating an item using materials. In other cases, you go to a specific vendor. In Path of Exile 2, you use currencies that you find by killing monsters to then modify the affixes on your items in different ways. Affixes, by the way, are basically just stats. For example, orbs of transmutation turn a normal white item into a magic blue item with 1 affix. Orbs of augmentation add 1 affix to a magic item. Remember, magic items can have 2 total affixes. So, if you take a white item and transmute it, it becomes magic, it gains a prefix. Then you use an augmentation, it gains a suffix. All of its affix slots are full, and you can't craft on it anymore. Unless you use a regal orb, which transforms a magic item into a rare item, and adds a new affix, so now it would have 3 total. Alternatively, you can use an orb of alchemy to take that normal item and transform it into a rare. After that, you can use an exalted orb to randomly add 1 affix to your item, or an orb of annulment to randomly remove 1 affix from your item. Then there's chaos, which randomly changes an affix. Think of it as both adding and removing. Now GGG has said that all of these crafting currencies are going to drop pretty frequently, even during the campaign. So, you're going to be using these currencies to build your items up. Look for bases with appropriate attributes for your build. If you're, say, playing the warrior, you're probably going to want to look for strength items because those are going to be easy to equip. Whereas if you're playing the sorceress and you happen to be wearing a lot of energy shield gear, look for more items with an intelligence requirement because that matches what your build is already using. From there, use the crafting currencies to add things like life, extra defenses, i.e. armor, evasion, or energy shield, and resistances. Oh, and look for movement speed on your boots cause gotta go fast. That should be good enough to get you through the campaign. But as you get to endgame, you might need a little bit more from your items. With that said, as you get to the endgame, you're going to need a little bit more from your items. So now let's look at a few more advanced crafting mechanics. First up, essences. These work somewhat like the regular crafting currencies, adding an affix to your item. Essences upgrade a normal item to a magic item and add 1 modifier from a specific category. So an essence of haste will upgrade a normal item to a magic item and add a speed modifier, which on your boots happens to be movement speed. Then greater essences upgrade a magic item to a rare item and again add 1 affix from the category. So a greater essence of a body upgrades your magic item to a rare and adds 1 life modifier, which in this case happens to be maximum life. In general, you should make sure you're happy with the affixes of a magic item before you invest a greater essence. But if you want even more control, consider using an omen obtained from the ritual mechanic. These offer ways to modify your other crafting currencies, reducing some of her randomness. So for example, you could use an omen of dextral annulment to ensure that your orb of annulment only removes a suffix. Or you could use an omen of sinistral exaltation to ensure that your exalted orb only adds a prefix. As you get further into the endgame, you're going to be using these metacrafting modifiers to make even more powerful items by restricting the options that can roll. Next up we have sockets, where you can place Ezomite runes to gain additional stats. This is a great way to add a bit of damage to your weapon or shore up that resistance you're missing. Now 2-handed weapons and body armors can have 2 sockets, and other armor pieces can have 1. In the endgame, you can complete the Trial of Chaos to earn powerful soul cores. Think of these as supercharged versions of the Ezomite runes. And if you want even more sockets on your items, Well, you're going to need to use a Vol Orb. This powerful crafting currency is the embodiment of a Vol civilization. In a phrase, YOLO. When you use a Vol Orb on an item, it's modified unpredictably. The affixes may shift randomly, or it may gain an additional socket, exceeding the normal limit. But be aware, after you corrupt an item with a Vol Orb, you can't modify it further. So, this should always be the last step in your crafting process. If you want to add a socket to an item without corrupting it, you can do so using an Artificer's Orb. But remember, this does respect the item's normal socket limit, meaning no, you won't be using an Artificer's Orb to add a third socket to your body armor. Also, while it's a bit outside the scope of this video, one other fun thing about Vol Orbs is they can be used on unique items. And yes, they can add sockets to your unique items. Now last up, we know about a few more currencies that don't work on weapons or armor. For example, catalysts. These increase the quality on a jewelry item, meaning amulet or rings, by up to 20%, enhancing all modifiers whose tags correspond to the quality type. So if you use a catalyst to enhance life modifiers, you could increase the potency of maximum life affixes on your item by up to 20%. Or if you're using a breach ring, by up to 50%. After participating in the delirium mechanic, you can use distilled emotions to instill an anointment onto your amulet. This gives you access to one notable from anywhere on the passive tree, without having to path to it or spend any additional passives. So if you're playing a mercenary and you want something from the witch, then this is the best way to get it. You'll also find Jeweler's Orbs throughout Rayclast. In Path of Exile 2, what these do is add sockets to your skills. Adding sockets to your skills is very important because support gems are very, very powerful, and you need a socket to put that support into. So, the more supports you have on your build, odds are the more powerful your skill is going to be. And then, last but not least, crafting in Path of Exile isn't just something that you do for your gear. You can also craft your waystones, and you craft your tablets. This allows you to increase the rewards you receive from the Atlas of Worlds, though it may add a little bit of danger along the way. You can craft the relics that you get from the Trial of the Sekimas to try to progress further, or you can craft the jewels you get as a reward to further enhance your passive tree. In short, unless something physically stops you from crafting on it, go ahead and try it, because there's a good chance you're going to be able to craft on pretty much everything. And I know, that was a lot to take in, especially if you've never played Path of Exile before. But above all, I really want to stress, don't be intimidated. Try your hand at crafting, especially during the campaign. Yes, you will waste some currency. That's okay, it won't matter, you will get so much more later that you will completely forget about the currency you ever wasted. And with a little practice, maybe learning from a couple of mistakes, you'll get the hang of things. This way, you'll set yourself up for success in the endgame when the crafting actually matters. Now, I tried to grab everything we know so far about crafting based on the reveal. But it was in a lot of different places. There wasn't exactly a crafting section that just went over everything. So if I missed something, please do comment it down below. And also, I suspect GGG has hidden a couple more ways to interact with items, or they're going to add them in the future. So, if you want to know more about crafting in Path of Exile 2, then do be sure to get subscribed, ring that notification bell, and hey, if you liked the video, which you probably did since you made it to the end, then leave a like while you're down there. Now, if you're looking for something else to watch, check out parts 1 or 2 of this series, where I go over classes, ascendancies, and the endgame respectively. On the other hand, if you've been doing nothing but injecting Path of Exile 2 content into your veins for the past couple days and you're sick of it, maybe check out my thoughts on the Rogue Prince of Persia. A really nice indie roguelike game that feels awesome to play and would make for a very nice palate cleanser. Personally, crafting has always been one of my favorite things about Path of Exile, but it's always been a hard conversation to have because it is very complicated. That's why I like it, and that's also why a lot of people are turned off by it. So on the one hand, I am a little bit sad that crafting in PoE 2 is a bit simpler. But on the other hand, I'm really happy because I'm hoping this means that a lot of people are going to get to enjoy crafting in PoE 2 the way I've enjoyed crafting in PoE 1. Which is why, even if you're intimidated, I really want you to give it a shot. But anyway, that's enough rambling from me for today. Thanks for watching, I'm glad you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.